All right, here's your post-game wrap-up, and we are early in the fourth quarter. I'm in the Air Canada Lounge in Calgary, and you can see the game's still on behind me because we know this thing is over right now. Lions are down by 4 touchdowns. It looks like it could only get worse here. And if you're a Lions fan, you are not happy with what you're seeing at all, and you shouldn't be. Now, first of all, full marks to Saskatchewan. They showed up to play. I think they understood what was at stake in this game, and they got some early momentum, right? And that matters in games like this, especially when you're a BC Lions team that's as fragile as they are, and that's pretty much the only way to describe them right now. Had a few things go wrong early, and Lapo's trying to call me. Sorry, Lapo, you're out. And they just seized on it, right? And they did what they've done all year long. When Saskatchewan's been the most successful, it's because they've completely generated turnovers, and they've owned that statistic throughout the season. And BC had no answers. So let's go through this game, and we're going to start with the play of Nathan Rourke because that's what everybody wants to talk about. And it's kind of more of the same, to be quite honest, right? Like Nathan hasn't been awful, but he's just been okay, and he hasn't been the answer. When you look at his 2 turnovers, because there were 4 for BC in the first half, but when you look at the 2, we start with the first play to William Stanback, throws slightly on his back shoulder, a catch you got to make at the pro level, there's no doubt, but you could also put it on him perfectly and give him a chance to catch and run, but that's probably more the drop and just the misfortune of having it go off a heel and then turn into a pick six right away. And now again, you're a player that right now doesn't look confident. You're an offense and a team that doesn't look confident, and then that happens, right? Then you wind up with the other turnovers, turnover on downs, the decision by Rick Campbell to go for it on 3rd and 2 when you're in field goal range, and you could have made it a 1-score game with the field goal. They should have kicked the field goal. I didn't hate the decision at the time. Like if you had given me the choice at the time, and I was sitting with some CFL people here in the lounge, and I said, yeah, you got to kick it, but I didn't hate it. Hated the play call. Like could not stand the play call. You get into a spread formation, and then you hand the ball off from there to your fullback. And as much as I like David Mackey as a player, the decision made no sense to me. Again, 60-40, they should have kicked, and if not, then either get into your short yardage package because Mackey gets 2 yards every time, or throw the football, right? Like complete some sort of a high percentage pass, some sort of rub concept, do something to free somebody up in the flat and make a play, and not do what you did there. Play calling wise in the first quarter, or in the first half, I didn't like it. First couple of series, they got Stanback involved, but then they got away from him really early when it was still a 1-score game. I understand in the second half why they did what they did, but in the first half, they could have gotten Stanback more involved, kept him involved, and I think they would have been better served for that. The other turnovers, the Justin McInnes play, I think it should have been ruled incomplete. And the people I was with also kind of felt the same way. It was bang, bang. It was just like one step, and I don't think enough had happened there where that should have been ruled a catch and a fumble. I think it should have been ruled an incomplete pass. Nonetheless, I'm not sure how much difference that makes in this game. Yeah, it was in the first half, and it was still at an important time, but, this team is bad, right? And then the next turnover was an interception by Rourke, which I think was on him. And remember, there was an earlier play in the game where he threw an interception on an over route where it was overturned because it just got juggled, but that would be what's called a turnover-worthy play. So if you look at Nathan's stats, 15 of 23, 200 yards, 2 interceptions, people were asking me if I thought there should have been a quarterback change made at halftime, and I'm having a difficult time answering this one right now because coming into the game, people asked me about what the leash should have been for Nathan, and I said there was going to be no leash, and ultimately there was in the fourth quarter here, but the game's over. I thought a disaster needed to happen in order for them to make a quarterback change, and kind of thought a disaster happened, maybe not just on the part of the quarterback, but on the part of the offense. When he pulled him in the Toronto game, they didn't need a spark. The second quarter, they were all playing quite well. They needed a spark here. But one of the things with the situation on when VA goes in and when he should go in, I don't want him going in when he doesn't practice, right? Like if you want him to have some success, if you want him to be a viable option for you in game and you're thinking about leashes and doing what's best for the team, then you better give him some practice reps, right? He shouldn't just get 3 or 4 practice reps because now you're putting him in a position to fail, especially putting him in the second half of this game when now you're down 3 scores and you have to throw the football, and so he's got no chance to run a functional offense. You're just asking for him to be a miracle worker at that point. So, I get why they didn't put him in, and I hope that factors into it, because if you put him in, you're setting him up to fail just like you did in that Toronto game, because he's not a backup quarterback, right? He's not one of those guys that has to prepare that way. So, and even here, putting Chase Bryson in the fourth quarter, I think they're saving Vernon and Nathan's bodies at this point. So I would hope, and I'm not an advocate for a short leash, because for the Lions, these are long-term decisions, what you're going to do with the quarterback situation right now. So you better make sure you handle it right on a lot of levels. Is the best thing for the team Vernon Adams over Nathan Rourke? Hard to say. I can't tell you it isn't. Cannot tell you it isn't. But I know that they're factoring in big picture decisions right now. The other side, and then the other side of the ball, oh my God, right? Teams generally stay away from Gary Peters, and everybody else is fair game, right? TJ Lee at the end of the half. Two routes back to back, including a touchdown pass right at TJ Lee. They're not afraid of him. They're not afraid of anybody in that secondary. When they need to make a play, they get to make a play. Trevor Harris was 24 for 29, just 5 incompletions through 3 quarters of play, 260 yards, right? And they couldn't stop AJ Ouellette either. So this defense has got nothing to offer right now in the most important game of the season, where they could have set themselves up to host a playoff game. So it's tough sledding. There's no doubt about it. And people are asking me whether or not it's time for a coaching change. Well, this is not the time for a coaching change. What's going to happen in the offseason? And I've said before that if this team finishes third, they don't host a playoff game, and they go meekly into the night, losing in the first round of the playoffs, I think all bets are off. Because the players have to believe in what's going on. I'm not convinced they do. I don't know that he's lost the room, but when you have performances like this, these are coach-changing type of performances. They are, right? I like Rick Campbell. I think he's a good coach. But when you underperform like this in the biggest games of the year, and your coach is kind of just looking for answers, he's just looking for answers, and there doesn't seem to be an obvious button he can push, right? Because it's not just the button, it's the pusher that matters to the players, right? So those are all fair questions. I'm not sitting here saying a coaching change should happen. That's not, I've got no agenda in that regard, but it's a fair question, and it's a reasonable ask, and Amar Doman and Dwayne Vanneau are going to have to make some decisions, and they're going to have some long conversations. And in the subject of Doman, I generally don't care who wins these games. I got great relationships across the league. Trevor Harris is a friend of mine. I've known Corey Mason, who was a high school student. The president of the Riders is a friend. I've got relationships across this league. I don't care, truly. But Amar Doman deserves better. He has put everything into this. Now look, Amar Doman financially is just fine. No one's feeling sorry for Amar Doman. But in terms of commitment, that's what it's supposed to look like. And he deserves a home playoff game, especially when he invested what he did to get Nathan Rourke back up here, to get Matthew Betts back up here. And he's not even going to see a home playoff game to recoup some of those dollars, let alone what they're going to have to pay when they go over the cap, right? So if I was the owner, I would be pissed. And again, this is a write-off for him. He is a very, very wealthy man. But, you don't do this without expecting something, expecting some sort of success. And, I've worked with these people on some events in and around Grey Cup. The Grey Cup committee is doing an incredible job. I feel for all of these people that, barring a miracle, their team's not going to be in it. It's tough to watch right now. It's absolutely tough to watch. And like I said, defensively, this is, it's not all about Nathan. Whenever they want something, pass game, run game, tell me where the playmaker is for the Lions anywhere on that side of the ball. And I've lamented how difficult it is for Ryan Phillips to, call up a defensive game plan when you've got guys that just can't do anything. So is there something there? Is there another level? Is there something else they can unlock here? I saw Keon Hatcher at halftime trying to get this team going. And they came out flat. Oh, and here's another coaching decision. What are you doing kicking onside to start the third quarter? Did not like that at all. Poor execution by Stefan Flintoff, but wow, what a move that just reeks of desperation. And maybe that's a coach feeling that my defense can't stop anybody. I need to find a way to steal a possession, but the timing of it wasn't good, and that's not me being revisionist. I didn't like that call when it happened. I was surprised that they went that way. But yeah, like I said, if I'm the owner, I'd be concerned, because this is not what you expect. When you're hosting a Grey Cup, you're investing a ton to make this happen, and it's not going your way. So one more home game. They play Montreal. I'm looking forward to it because I'm being inducted into the BC Football Hall of Fame with my good friends Julio Caravata and Glenn Suter and Dave Hawkshaw and Paul McCallum and so many others. So I'm going to try to enjoy that day, even though if you're a Lions player and a fan, you're just trying to build some momentum heading into the playoffs. So what do you do going into that, right? If you're Rick Campbell, what do you do? And I'm really interested to see how he handles the quarterbacks. because do you want to put yourself in a situation where VA is a viable option if you need him in the playoffs? And if you do, you better give him some reps. And so how do you approach that Montreal game? Do you do everything in your power to get Nathan Rourke's confidence back up, right? And just give him run, give him reps, give him plays? Or do you maybe let the two quarterbacks split a half, get a half each, so they're both ready if needed in the playoff game? I don't know what the right answer is, but they got to ask some questions, because whatever they're doing right now on both sides of the ball is not working. It's not working. So that's it, man. I got a flight to catch. Enjoyed doing this from the lounge. The game's still going on behind me. What's the score? Murray? 39-8. They're losing by 31 points. How much time is left? Not good. Anyway, might as well save some time, right, folks? See ya.